Okay, I'm in my room, and there's a lot of things on my wall, but don't let them confuse you, because when I show you what I do with the light, then sometimes some of that will show up. Because these orbs are transparent. Okay, now, this is the piece of glass. It's two pieces of a chandelier, super glued together. Not super glue, hot glued together. And I will show you. I'm going to dry it up. The oils on my skin will show sometimes. So I wiped it off, and now I'll get it in that light. And I'll go in real close. And you'll see the orb. And you'll see the action of the orb as it comes out of the light too. See how it comes out of the light there? And it starts stretching and turning into a second orb. And as it gets out a little further, they're pretty much a circle, a round orb. And ooh, look, there's this thing. I want to show you this more closely, because I will be talking more about this particular look. Now, recently, I've been so bold, if you call it that, as to put some of my saliva onto this little piece of glass. So I'm going to put that in my mouth right now and show you how the orb becomes more colorful and more full of dark holes, because now we're looking at the saliva, and that will change this picture. Okay, here goes. Okay. Now you see there will be a lot of dark holes in it and a lot more color and movement, because I guess it's moving around on the surface of this. Plus I'm moving the camera around because in different portions of the light there's different action going on. See, there's this from the light, this bright line. Well, it don't come exactly from the light. Okay, there's the light, and it's a LED light. Oh, my dog wants out of the room, dang it. Let me stop real quick. Come on, dog, get out. Get out. Oh. Now, pardon that disruption. I put the glass back in my mouth to get more saliva on it as I was letting the dog out. Great scientific research here. Includes dogs. But anyway, anyone can do research. Just have to have a little idea of what it is you want to look at. And I'm looking at light. And this glass object magnifies really extremely small what is in the light, which is on this glass, which is my saliva right now, because everything is composed of light. And so my saliva is also light. And stuff goes on in light. Stuff goes on that we don't see what normally. And I do believe, although people think I'm a little crazy concerning this, but I do believe that I've discovered a way at looking at what is in light better than any of the microscopes we've ever invented. I don't think they go into light this completely. Now these little X-looking things turn out to be little lined balls. I've gotten many pictures of them. in my still pictures that I take. And I will be showing some of them in another video probably. But there's so much activity and color, morphing colors. All kinds of things. Who knows what to call it? There's no name for it. Because it's not something that's been seen. And most people have no idea. And there are people who will say, oh, this is all light refraction because you're using glass. To which I would say I can use the shine off of anything. It doesn't have to necessarily be glass, although glass works best. But it could be a still ball. It could be a shiny leaf on a tree. Anywhere that a spot of really shiny light makes a little glowing spot, on the surface of something, that's where the light is reflected and that is where you'll find these orbs that look so beautiful. And as I move around, I see other things in other areas of the room that I'm moving my camera toward with this saliva on it. So am I also seeing what is in empty space? That's what I'm always thinking. That it's making the little balls there. The little round curved balls that almost touch one another. And before they touch, they look like a little X. And I will be showing you some pictures of these. It's still pictures, which I will put in another video because I don't know how to make videos and put my still pictures in with my video. I have so much to learn. And no one is helping me figure this out. Even the photography part of it, which I could use some help. But I'll show you the light there. When I make this real small, I go out and I'm not so close in on it. Then you can see the activity of this orb as it comes out of the light. It can go back into the light according to how I move the camera. It's not lens flare. Now I think that circle that's moving with it is maybe some lens flare. But this little light that you see coming out, and you see it right there, that is not, I don't think that's lens flare. And you see what it will do? It will make another orb. It's how I move the camera. But it only makes like 3. It makes one, and the one in the middle, and one on the other side, and the one in the middle travels back and forth from one side to the other. See how it goes from one side to the other. Now, there may be a perfect explanation for this that I haven't heard and no one has told me about. And if you know it, please advise me. But now here, if you go out here past the vicinity of being close to the light, and you get these orbs of light that are further out. See all the little X's in there? There's quite a lot of them. Now, some of my saliva is still on this piece of glass. And when I was just looking with the naked eye through the piece of glass, and I put the saliva on there, I put quite a lot of it, and it was running down the side, and I saw all these little X's. They were like a swarm of them. And then the X's started morphing into the little balls that you see this, you sort of see them here. because the X's are two little balls side by side, and then they start filling out as a round ball. Now I'm going to put a little more saliva on this. And look at it again. Another thing, saliva makes a lot of black holes. It makes a lot of these X's, and it gives you quite a lot of color. You see all the holes. But those holes will start diminishing because it starts drying up. And I see them just disappearing quite a lot. They are interesting to look at and look into. I'll go up inside of one here. So there's color in there too. Boy, when you get in too close, you really can't, everything gets fuzzy. So I'm going to go out again and make it smaller. And then travel around over to the right. See what I can see. So much more is in the orb now that the saliva is on the little piece of glass than was before. And if I wipe this down and clear all that off of there, which I will do in a minute, you will see it's not there anymore. All this that you see. Little bits and pieces of it are left, but look at that one. I just get fascinated looking at this. I'm getting tongue twisted too. I'm always amazed that the light just changes colors and just sort of morphs. And so did the lines. Take that in a little. Make it a little bit bigger. Look at that activity. I'm going to hold it pretty still right here. But still. Now that movement is pretty jerky, but I'm holding my hand and the camera pretty still. I'm not moving it that much that it would jerk like that. This is the light doing that. I'm going to move it around. You see there's color in those dark holes become colorful dark holes. See, they were all just kind of black in the center before, and now they have color in them. If nothing else, this is definitely a good microscope. And there's kind of a bright one. Now I've shown pictures that I got offline on a video I saw, the wave action of hydrogen, and they showed it to look real similar to this that's shining so bright there. And I'm not all that scientific, but isn't hydrogen in everything? So it's in the picture here, and I'm seeing that wave action. They call it the orbital wave function of hydrogen, and sometimes I get it real clear. It's beautiful. If nothing else, it's just really beautiful. And I do believe that light is fractal from all that I see. Now I'm moving into another part of the room. More down. Sometimes the further away I get from the light, the more color I get in the orb. I'm going to hold it still and let you see some of the color changes. The orbs seem to pulse with a pulse. I've observed that sometime, even when I had my camera on a tripod and the camera was very still. These orbs, I see them as a looking device for looking into what is in empty space. Some people call this dark matter, and I've thought of it often as the etheric. What is in the etheric? And that's important because the etheric is what everything came from. It is the invisible, out of which the visible things that we know and experience every day have come from. I don't know if other people can get these pictures because no one's tried yet to duplicate what I've done here. But I've shown you it's really easy. All you need is a digital camera that will zoom in, and you need a piece of glass, and you need a LED light, they're the best ones for viewing this. It's something about how they concentrate the light. And a cheap camera will do, because sometimes the more expensive cameras have filters that filter out this sort of thing, because it doesn't make for a good picture to have, orbs show up in your picture taking. So the cheaper cameras without the filters are the ones that will get this kind of activity in the light. One of my cameras, my oldest one, gets a little different view of things than this newer one I'm using here does. Okay, now I'm going to sort of dry this off on my clothes. Okay, now to look at it again. Now there is not so much saliva on it. And see, the lines are straight now. Straighter. They still are crazy looking, but some of those colors are still with us, because you don't really ever get everything off of the surface of glass. There's always something that stays on the surface. Now, I've looked through the surface of this glass with the naked eye, and with the light in the background, and I've seen a lot of things that will move around when I just take my finger and disturb it, because what it is the oils on my skin. And you might not think, well, you have oils, but you do. Even if you're not putting lotion on, you still have oils that just elude from your skin, and they show up real well this way. So I have to wipe it excessively to get that off to any degree, and there'll still be some of it on, I'm sure. But even the oils are made of light. Everything is made of light. But see, it's less interesting now because there's no saliva in abundance on this. So, here I go. Put some more on. Okay. Now look at the ones that come out of the light. They're colorful too, see? The ones that move like that are also very colorful. And there's the little X's, and the X's are making those little round balls. At first they look like a little X, but after you watch it a while, they morph into the little round balls. But everything in this can just disappear or evaporate or morph into something that is different, because there's nothing that's stable in this world of light here. It seems to be that everything is constantly in a state of alteration. Oh, and there's that colorful little thing comes in every now and then. It's hard to catch that. You saw it just now, but there it is again. Go in closer. That's those little X's that turn into the curved line balls. And colorful they are. I'm holding it rather still now, although it's jerky looking. Now, I do wish that someone with more scientific understanding of things than I have would give this a look-see, that they would conduct this same experiment, because then they might have a better idea of what they're looking at. I say might, they might not either, because sometimes scientists are prejudiced to have a certain view that they don't want to see destroyed, and so they are just dogmatic. And quite a few of them won't admit of anything that has to do with spirituality. So they're limited. Unless there's someone like Rupert Sheldrake or Bruce Lipton or Greg Braden, people like that, scientific minds like that, they have ventured into this world that you would call the spiritual and metaphysical, beyond the physical. Some people call it the occult, and they think it's demonic, and they get all scared, they thinking it's the work of the devil and all that sort of stuff. I've never once been afraid of what I'm looking at. I've been fascinated by it, but I haven't been afraid of it. I'm going to make it a little smaller here, because sometimes it's easier to see when you have it as a small ball there instead of the big one. Now I am moving it around now. And you see those little circles that come and go. That one's staying pretty much in one place, that little circle. But I've seen them come to the surface like and pop. They don't make any sound, but they just disappear, and then I see another one. Let me move a little. I'm moving the piece of glass now instead of the camera. Now, is this things that are just in the glass? That you might wonder, and I've wondered it. Some people say there's a lot of little imperfections in the glass, and the light shining on those imperfections creates what I'm seeing. That's a possibility, but I really don't think so, because I see some of the same things with the naked eye. And not using a piece of glass, just looking at light, I see some of these things. But I can't prove that to anyone. That's a personal experience. Now see, there's some of those little circles that are moving around. Of course, they really look like they're moving around when I'm moving the camera around, too. But I don't want to just stay in one spot, because everywhere I look, I'm moving this camera about in the light that comes from the light source, as in different parts of the room. Let's follow that. I'm going to follow that big white line and see where it goes. Well, there it is again. And you see the light source there. Always a light source. When people film light, they'll get those little red pocket things around it. I've noticed that in a lot of people's photography. And then there's the lens flare, of course. I get that. I see a little bit of it now as I move this around. I see some of the lens flare. But don't confuse this all for being lens flare, because it could possibly all of it be lens flare. But lens flare is a real thing. And I do know there's some people who get it when they film into the sun, when they photograph the sun, they'll get the lens flare and they'll think it's some little entity. And they'll even give it a name. And I've given a name to one of the little things that I get with my other camera, because I see it drop down into the orbs. I call him Henry, but he's not lens flare. I don't know what he is. I think he's a light creature. But you'll have to look at one of my other videos about Henry. I mean, not Henry, but Harry. I'm thinking of this woman who named her lens flare Henry. And she says, oh, and he dives into the ground so fast that I can't see him anymore. But that's because she turns the angle of her camera away from the sun and toward the ground. And I want to tell her that, you know, she's getting lens flare, but also I know that there are other things that cameras will get than just lens flare. I hate to discourage her.